So
Yeah.
the third part of their argument is transgender does not describe a politically powerless group of people.
It is no secret that until 1920, states were constitutionally permitted to deprive women as a class of the right to vote, and most did. For the first few centuries of this country, women could be prohibited from voting, serving on juries, owning a credit card or bank account, and divorcing an abusive husband. No one has ever been confused about the class of people whose rights to all these things could constitutionally be withheld. In other words, part of the reason that this court granted women quasi suspect classification status in Reed was because, at least up until 1971, women were politically powerless. The argument, as valid today as it was in 1971, was that the Equal Protection Clause protects women and girls on the basis of sex because women and girls have historically been discriminated against on that very basis.
In contrast, there is nothing politically powerless about the group of people who call themselves quote unquote transgender. Since 2012, then Vice President Biden has been saying that transgender discrimination is the civil rights issue of our time. On his
Yeah.
first day of taking office as president in 2021, he issued Executive Order 13988 on quote unquote preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity. They shoehorn that in with sexual orientation. Like whether you're attracted to the same sex or the opposite sex, the same as this gender identity, whatever that is. But they're
Really
shoehorning,
conveying that.
they force team that on purpose.
Yeah,
If
totally.
people have an issue with it, they can say, "Oh, are you homophobic?"
Not no, cynical theories. It was the James Lindsay
Oh,
and
yeah,
Nick
yeah.
Rose,
Mhm.
book about wokeness, and they have many instances of comparing transgenderism to a sexual orientation. They're
Mhm.
conflating it with homosexuality, which
Yeah.
I think that's suspect. I don't know why they would want to do that. Either they don't understand the issue, or
Mhm.
they're interested in somehow legitimizing it. They do understand it, and they want to legitimize it this way. So I would say that anybody who's conflating an imaginary costume wearing thing with an actual human sexuality, of which there are what, 3? Bi, straight, gay, right? There's 3 sexualities, right?
Mhm.
That's suspect.
Once something becomes acceptable
Mm.
and also affirmed, they wanna put more things in that category. Yeah?
Yeah.
So gay rights made it through, at least in the countries that we're talking about. So,
Yeah.
oh, well, this is another one. This is another sexual orientation or it's somehow akin to it. Yeah, it's force teaming. It's putting things under a category that negates the category.
Right.
It's just obsolete. The idea that being attracted to the opposite sex and wanting to be regarded as the opposite sex or no sex is somehow the same? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you have
Um,
men pretending to be transbians and they want to join lesbian dating apps, that actually has a real world consequence right there. It's not just like, "Oh, why can't we conflate them?" We can't conflate them
mhm,
because then the predators will go and predate
mhm, mhm.
on yeah.
AKA straight guys who like to pretend they're women. So to
Yeah.
turn everything that somebody gets off on into a sexuality or gender identity that then has to be protected and affirmed, let's think about where that could go.
Yeah, very dangerous.
As the court below noted, the President of the United States and the Department of Justice support the plaintiffs. So these poor put upon people have the President on their side, the Department of
Yeah.
Justice on their side, the Health and Human Services on their side, ACLU on their side, all these other organizations on their side, but they're
They're
downtrodden.
marginalized. Yeah, for
Um,
them.
14 states have passed laws specifically allowing some of the treatment sought here. 20 states have joined an amicus brief in support of the plaintiffs. The major medical organizations support the plaintiffs. Of course they do. So again, medical associations are supporting this gender identity mumbo jumbo. And the only large law firms to make an appearance in the case all entered the controversy in support of the plaintiffs. These are not the hallmarks of a skewed or unfair political process, and they offer no explanation for inviting a greater political dysfunction problem. The difficulty of amending the Constitution if the federal courts err in choosing to occupy the field. So basically, the idea that this is a politically marginalized group is laughable.
Yeah, totally laughable. It's just to think a man can put on a comedy wig and stuff his bra and then say like, "Hey, I'm a woman." And then women, we're all supposed to believe him and not the women who say, "No, he's not a trans man. We have to believe the man." It's insane. Katya's compass.
Legal certainty is a principle in national and international law which holds that law must provide those subject to it with ability to regulate their conduct. Thank you, Katya. The court should acknowledge that the category of people who call themselves transgender have become one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the country.
Yeah,
This is important to realize.
in the world.
And if you pair that with the work that Jennifer Billick and others have done about the motivations and the money
Right.
and the future markets that people are salivating around this stuff, it becomes easier to realize that it's not just about these poor people that have quote unquote gender dysphoria. It's very much about we need our products and services to be recognized as legitimate in law.
Yeah.
We can't sell people this like gender kit if the laws, yeah, no, you're still whatever came out of your mama.
Stay
And
out of the
doesn't matter
man's
what
mouth
kinda
here.
doesn't matter how
Right.
you kid out your body.
There's no validation for them without going into women's spaces. There is no
Mhm,
validation. Once they get to the point of wanting to wear their costume outside, they need external validation and they need people to be discomfited by their presence. It's a weird thing that most normal people, you and I, probably don't understand this. We
mhm.
don't get off on it. I'm sorry, I'm maybe sounding really rude, but we don't
No,
understand.
no.
We are
Eh,
normal people functioning in society. So that's why they need to date lesbians. That's why they need to be in our spaces. So if the big prize gets taken away, yeah, everything falls apart.